Okay, welcome back. So today we're going to be taking a look at the UI that we already created for inventory, and we're going to make a scrollable panel that will adjust to whatever is inside of it. So for example, I have my content here, but if I dynamically create a child of that, it's going to automatically align to a grid. And if I just make a whole bunch of them here, I'll be able to scroll around in here just like you would expect, using either a scroll wheel or click and drag just like you would with the touch device. So let's jump right in. Okay, so welcome back. Today's video is going to be a little loosey-goosey again. I don't have any notes, but I know pretty much exactly what I want to do, so we'll just kind of feel this out here. So where we left off last time, we created the very, very base part of our inventory. So what I want to do now is I want to go through setting up our inventory a little more in depth, and then we'll talk about how we can have all of these inventory systems work together and then get the very, very, very base part of it working. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go to my pause canvas in my inventory panel. I'm going to turn that back on so that I can see it. I'm going to add a few items to my inventory panel so it looks more like what I would want it to. First thing I'm going to add is like a little label up here that says inventory, and I'm going to do that in a few different ways. First, I'm going to create an image. Drag this image all the way up here, and I'm going to set it to be anchored to the top center. This is going to be like a little banner that our inventory text is going to sit on. Now this needs an image to go with it, so I'm going to go to my source images, and I want, I think, objects 128, if I remember correctly. Yeah, hey, look at that. Now, I'm going to make this one a little bit darker so that it stands out. So I'm going to change its color from what it is right now. Let's go to like a cool gray. Something about like, right, a little less saturated. That's good. Alright, that's not too bad. Now I'm going to add my inventory text on top of this. I'm going to change this to say inventory background. Now, my text I'm going to use as a Text Mesh Pro object, and I'll make this say inventory. Now, there's an issue with the last time that we used Text Mesh Pro. I created the font, but then I didn't change it again, so I need to make a new Text Mesh Pro asset. So what I want to do here, I'm going to right click. I will remind me tomorrow, despite the fact I've been saying that for a week. I'm going to go to create, and oops, there we go. Text Mesh Pro. I want to create is it a sprite asset? I forget. Maybe. Okay, well I guess it's not that. It's this bit script thing. I'm gonna just duplicate that maybe. Okay, I'm gonna call this bit script 2. And then material here I'm gonna change. My color's gonna be somewhere near that cool gray, but just a tad darker. And then for the face color, I'm going to make this just a little bit cooler and grayer. There we go. Alright, now if I go to my Text Mesh Pro text, I'm going to change it from Liberation Sands to BitScript 2. And this is going to need to be changed in size a little bit to fit everything. And I'll center that, and I will center it in here. How does that look? That's really hard to read. Let's up the size a little bit. It's still not great to read. Let's try 48, and then I'll have to adjust the size again. And put it back in the center. I wonder if I went with like a nice, maybe I went darker with this. And that's not too bad. It's a little bit better. I'm spending a lot of time on this, I know. So just gotta bear with me for like a second here. Why aren't you grabbing that color? Huh. That's weird. Alright, well let's go really saturated, kinda close to black there. And then for the background color, we'll go the other oh, it's too far. There we go. I could mess with colors all day. I like this stuff. Alright, cool. So there's my inventory, and I'm going to change this to say inventory text. Now, for my inventory panel here, I'm going to add as a child of it a what's called a scroll container. So I'm going to go to UI, I'm going to go to scroll view, and this is going to be our scroll container. This is going to hold our inventory objects, and I want this to be nice and big so that I can have my inventory items fill, you know, as much space as they need to. Now by default, the scroll container comes with a whole bunch of stuff. It comes with the viewport and content is what's going to actually make everything scroll like it should. The first thing I always do whenever I have this is I reset the content to be the size of the window. I personally don't like the scroll bars in most things that I do, so I'm just going to get rid of them. And you could delete them. Oh, I guess I have to delete them. I thought I could just turn them off. So let's just delete both of these. And let's make our content take up the window. And let's also make the... It's hard to see it on the video, but there's these little anchors here. I'm going to have the anchors... Oh, I guess I can't. I guess I gotta have the content go back to it. Let's go to our scroll view. Can I change that back to it? No, it's the viewport I gotta change. There we go. That's weird. Okay, what are you doing? Alright, well, It's so weird. I've messed with scroll containers many times before and not had this much difficulty with them. Unity's UI system is old and in need of an overhaul, if you ask me. I just want these W deltas to be 0. Is that so much to ask? Scroll view. Yeah, I'm just gonna have to be okay with that for now. I'm gonna recenter it on my screen. And the main aspect of the scroll view, I'm gonna have to make some changes in here. So you can choose if you want it to be horizontal or vertical. I want this to be only vertical. Movement type, you can have elastic, unrestricted, or clamped. Clamped means that you can't move beyond the boundaries of it at all, no matter what. Unrestricted means you can move wherever you want. And elastic means you get that kind of bouncy thing that you would see in a phone. And then you can change exactly how elastic it is. I think 0.1 is too elastic, so I like to do 0.05. You can set its inertia and its deceleration rate. I'm not going to change that right now. My scroll bars are empty. You can have some functions happen if you change the value here, but I'm not going to do anything with that right now. I am, however, going to change the color. I'm going to make it fully transparent. And yeah, I'll leave it that way right now. It's supposed to be like a backdrop, so I think that's okay. And then, yep, the viewport itself, I don't need to change anything. Make sure that it has the mask on it, because that's what makes it so that you don't see what's underneath it in the content. Let's just bring this over here since I had some trouble moving the actual toggles. And then here we've got the content. I want to make sure the content fits the viewport, but I'm going to add a new component to the content, and that's a content size fitter. And my vertical fit is going to be the preferred size. And so, like what that did right now, if you didn't notice, is it made it teeny tiny. But here's what I can do. Oh, there's another thing I need to add to my content. I'm going to add a grid layout group. And that's because I want my inventory items to be displayed in a grid. Now for my grid layout group, I'm going to leave my cell size. How big is our viewport here? Nope. Should be 0. Okay, so we've got 446. So if we did like 75, that would probably be pretty good as a size. So what I'm thinking about is how I want to lay out my items. If I made them 75 each, I could get a row of 4 and then go down as much as I need to. So my cell size is going to be, let's do 75 by 75. My spacing in the X and Y direction is going to be 25. And my start corner, let's do upper left, and I want to start with horizontal. My child alignment I want to be middle center, and I want a fixed column count, and I want 4 of those. So let's see what this is going to do. So I'm going to take my content here, I'm going to create a new object, a UI image, and you can see how it gets created in the middle there. Now it's way up against the top there, so I'm going to make sure that it has a little bit of padding. So I'm going to go to my padding, and top, we'll go 25. And ideally I'd want it to be in the upper left corner. So I'm going to change it from middle center to upper left. And then let's take a look at what happens when I duplicate these. So I'm going to highlight the image, and you can see that they're being duplicated. So right now I've got 23 of them. Now if I hit play, this is going to be all over everything that we want to actually see, but you'll see what I can do in a second. So I can use my scroll wheel, and the other thing that you can do is you can just click and drag to simulate a touch, so you can see what that would be like. You can use this to check how elastic you want it to be and to see how much deceleration you want. Now it's not centered yet though, so let's get this centered. So I want to go back up here to my content, and for my padding I'm going to add 25 to the left, 25 to the right, and 25 to the bottom. So it's kind of centered like that. Let's see how this looks when we play now. Okay, that's not too bad. And that padding at the bottom means that we're not bumping up against the bottom like we were just a second ago. That actually looks pretty good. Alright, cool. Now, I don't actually want these images to be part of my inventory screen, so I'm just going to delete them. They were just there for making sure that everything was the way it was supposed to be. So all of my settings here are going to remain as they were. Now, for my inventory panel, I want some text here and then a button for whether or not I'm using the item. So I'm going to add a new UI. I'm going to add an image so that it can be like a backdrop for it. I'm going to put it down here. And I want to go for like a parchment color for this. It's a little too, maybe a little orangier. It's better. How does that look against everything else? That's not too bad. Alright, so let's get this centered. Put my X position to 0. I'll leave my Y position, I'll make it negative 140 just so it's at a nice neat number. I'm going to make my width 448, which might mess up a few things. I'm going to make my height a little bit. I'm going to make my height 80. And then let's just kind of... Okay, cool. Now, this is going to be my item description. And as a child of this, I'm going to make a Text Mesh Pro text. I'm going to bring this over. And I'm going to have this have the same text as my inventory up there. Well, do I want that? Yeah, might as well. So I'm going to move that. Actually, no, I don't want this. I'm going to go back to that Liberation Sands SDF. I'm going to change the vertex color. Let's just grab the vertex color from here. Yeah, I wonder if that's a known issue. Because I think I've tried to use the color picker before and it wasn't able to. That's so weird. Okay, well, let's try and manually pick one that's pretty close. That's not too bad. Let's make this smaller because this is going to have like multiple lines. And let's center it in both directions. And this is going to be item description. This item does a lot of really cool stuff. So that means that 24 is probably still too big. Let's go smaller, like say 18. How does that look? That's not too bad. And then for my item description, I'm going to add a UI button. And this is going to go over there. Let's make this just a little bit taller. Let's make it, say, 124 wide, and let's do 48 tall. That's better. And, okay. That's not too bad. Let's put the Y position at 0, though. I don't know why that's off. And I don't know why Unity even still puts their regular text on these buttons, so I'm just going to delete the text, and I'm going to add a Text Mesh Pro. It just scales so much better than the stock Unity stuff. I'm going to resize this to fit the button better. There we go. And for this, I'd like to have the same vertex color. So here's a hint. If you have colors that you like, I'm going to go to Text Mesh Pro here. I'm going to open up the vertex color. I'm going to add this as a preset, and now it's going to be one of my swatches. So now when I go to this text, since I know the color picker isn't working, I can open that up and just go to my swatch. I'm going to center this. Yep, it's already centered. And instead of being button, I'm going to call this use. And also, this doesn't look like it goes very well with everything else, so I'm going to change the background of the button and its color. So let's do the, instead of UI Sprite, let's do objects again. And it's 128 that I want. And right now it's slicing it, but I want it to be simple. Oh, I don't want preserve aspect. I don't want native size either. Let's go back to what I had. I had 124 by 48. That just doesn't look very good. Let's go back to sliced. That's not great, but if I make it a little bit taller, maybe it'll be good. Alright, so let's make it like, I don't want to do 80, but let's do 72. Make it really tall. That looks a little better. And let's go to like 96. And that's better. Alright, cool. Now I'm going to change the color to, so for my source image color, I'm going to go cool gray. Let's actually just go only slightly gray. If you have a, actually let's go orange. If you have an asset pack, this would be a good place to use it, rather than me just trying to make the same sprite do 7 different things. But Honestly, for just using the one sprite, I think it looks okay. All right, cool. So we've set up our scrolling content view. We've made our item description, and we've made our little use button here, along with an inventory tag. So we have the UI pretty much set up how we want it. Now, the main thing that we're going to do next is we're going to create an inventory slot item. So to do this, I'm going to go back to my content, and I'm going to create a child of it, a UI image. Actually, let's not make it an image. Let's make it, no, an image is fine. Let's leave it an image. And I'm going to call this inventory slot. And this is going to be the base thing that all inventory items are going to inherit from. And this is going to get as a source image, you guessed it, objects 128. That's actually not too bad. It's just barely not big enough though. This needs to be 75 by 75, so let's make it, can I make it simple? Ooh, that looks good. And let's make the background here. Yeah, there must be an issue with that color picker. Let's make the background something like that. A little bit darker though. Yeah, that's good. All right, so now this inventory slot's going to have a few different things that it's going to need. Oh, I'm in the game view. This inventory slot's going to have a few different things it's going to need. It's going to need to have an image of the item. And then I want to have something to display how many of the item there is. So I'm going to make a UI image, and I'm going to call this inventory image. And let's make this 48 by 48. And that's pretty good. I'll leave it in the center there. And then I'll also make a... I could put the text down beneath it, but I like the idea of having it like here. So if I want to have it like there, then I need to move this image up just a tad. No, I like that where it was. Let's add it like underneath it or something then. So for my inventory slot, I'm going to add a UI text, and oh god, that's not what I meant. I want a inventory slot. I want UI text mesh pro, and I'm going to resize this nice and small. You're going to live down there. That's your new home. And you're going to get a really small size, like 8. No, it's too small. And change you to numbers so we can see what you look like. And we'll center you. And we'll make you nice and black. Well, almost black. There we go. I don't like how it's kind of in the middle there. It needs to either be up or down, and I think I'd rather it be up. So grab my inventory image, pull that up a little bit, my text mesh pro, pull that up beneath it. It's better. It's not great, but it's better. All right, so I'm going to change this from being text mesh pro to being number held. So now I've got my inventory slot. Now I'm going to also add to this a button component, which allows us to press it and treat it like a button. So we didn't have to actually create a button. Let's see how this is going to act here. So it gets a little bit darker. We can't scroll, but if I go to my inventory slot and then just like duplicate it, you can see how it fills up, and then over here I can scroll through. Alright, cool. That's pretty good. So we set up all the UI stuff. Now next time we're going to create a script for the inventory slot so that it knows what item it is, and based on what item it is, it'll change the image to be a specific image. It'll also know how many of the item it holds, and it'll use that to change the text. When we click on it, we'll have it communicate with this item description here so that it'll change the description. And if it's usable, then this use button will appear. If it's not usable, then the use button won't appear. All right, cool. So that's pretty good. This was a very Unity UI heavy. Oh, one more thing we need to do here before we get too far is I want to make a prefab out of my inventory panel. So I'm going to go to my prefab folder. I'm going to make a new folder inside of it. I'm going to call this inventory UI. And I'm going to pull in my inventory slot. Now that it's a prefab, I can delete it from the scene because the content is going to know, well, we can make it the content or we can make it the actual inventory panel. One of these is going to know what the player's inventory is, and then based on reading the player's inventory, it's going to add items to here. So, yeah. Thanks very much for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. You can follow me on Twitter, find out when I post new videos. You can join me on my Discord, where there's a ton of really, really cool people who are, believe it or not, way more knowledgeable than I am. Shout out to Faker and Sir Psycho, yeah, Magic Panda and Jacqueline, and everybody else who's been helping out and being just generally awesome. I have a Patreon where you can contribute as little as $1 a month will get you access to Patreon exclusive videos. Some Patreon exclusive videos I've done for this have been lighting, virtual joysticks. I think there was something else too. I'm tired, so I'm not thinking very straight. Yeah, so there's one more thing. Oh, yeah. So one thing I wanted to do really quickly here, if you're still watching, and if you are, thank you very much, is just give a shout out to a couple other YouTube creators out there who are doing some really, really good work in Unity and in other systems who maybe aren't getting the feedback or attention I think they deserve. So one of them is Dapper Dino. I'll leave a link to his channel in the description down below. Dapper Dino's really, really great. He's a young guy, but he knows what he's doing. So he does a very, very good job of focusing on patterns, development patterns, and he specifically uses the component development pattern very well, and he also, like me, enjoys his scriptable objects. So go check him out. I'll leave a link in the description. I actually follow him on Patreon. Part of what I wanted to do with my Patreon account was to take 10% of it and redistribute it amongst other creators, and he's one of the creators I thought deserved some love. So yeah, go check him out. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful day.